Hello, Oracles. How are we doing today on this Labor Day weekend here in the US? Let me know how you guys are doing all around the world as well. So, just a few things. It's been kind of a slow weekend for me, so I've been trying to wrap some things up. Started doing all the new spreadsheets. For those of you who are over on Patreon, you know that I've been working on getting the spreadsheets all updated for you guys. So, I'm starting a whole lot of them from scratch over on Excel, and I'm having to learn how to use Excel. So those should be coming out shortly. I got one of them mostly done today, at least the formulas. So I'll be updating all of those. So that's going to include my budget, my millionaire status, my price targets, my production for Tesla, all my valuation models. Going to be updating all of that for you guys over there. So otherwise, let's see what we got going on. We're going to take a look at the charts because it's been a long weekend. So let's see where we stand going into tomorrow. Let me get my share screen going here. All right, get back over to here. All right. So, as we have been talking, hey, Sophie, how's it going? So, as we've been talking, we are in a downward trend. And again, this is something I've been talking about, anticipating going into the midterm elections, CPI data, the FOMC meeting. To me, it's not a big concern that we're on this downward trend. Some people are predicting that we're going to hit a deep dive down into the middle of October. I don't know yet. There's the levels that I'm watching to see if we are going to get there. I'm not going to predict out that far. But looking at the levels that we have, like we've got our nice solid support down here at 245. And so right above that at 247, we have our gap. The gap stems to right here. And so 247 is the gap, 245 is the support. And we're heading down in that direction. So this is the channel that we're on. And what I look at here is, so going into tomorrow, the top of this, if we do end up going green, would be 284, and the bottom would be 257, 258 level. And now 258 is that other gap that we have. So we have another gap that goes down to 258. So if we pull down tomorrow, we may fill that gap tomorrow. So there's some news that I have been getting, a lot of stuff about oil lately. I don't know why today, all of a sudden, between tweets and friends sending me text messages about oil, and then other articles I've been reading about how oil is, being affected by the EV revolution. Just weird how it's all coming together. But I'll go into all those in a minute to share with you guys. But so coming on this downward trend again, anybody holding long term, truly, I don't think this really matters. To me, I'm just looking to add as many shares as possible. So the lower the prices, the more I can add. This is why I look forward to it. But I know some of you out there are all in and just want the stock to go to the moon. So unfortunately, just going to have to deal with the turbulence, and some of you have already been through massive turbulence with Tesla, so you're used to this. So again, just following this downward trend. Now looking at the RSI, we're at 40.51. Again, anything under 30 usually means that it's oversold, and we have hit these levels earlier this year. So going back to June, we were down at 40. Back at the middle of June, we're at 36. And some of these were like the bottoms that we were at for the stock price. So we're heading down to what was previously, as far as the RSI goes, lows of the stock price. So we're on this downward trend, and then we hit that point, people are going to buy back in. So this is just my anticipation. Again, it doesn't have to happen, but usually going into September, we get more volume coming in. This has been relatively low volume the last couple of weeks or so going on. I mean, look at the massive spikes in volume we had here at the beginning of August, and then it just kind of fizzled out for the last 2 weeks of August. So I'm anticipating some volume coming back in. And again, going into the uncertainty with the midterm elections, the CPI and the PPI and the FOMC meeting, it's sort of like what we saw at the beginning of the year, and a lot of people just holding their breath and waiting to see what is going to happen before they go and put their money in. Because if we're looking like we've got, the Democrats who are going to lead, which at this point it does not look that way, people don't want to go through what we went through the last 2 years with all the spending. So people, may not want that. The market usually likes, and usually, what do I want to say here? The market usually likes when there's nothing, a stalemated, a stalwart government that we have here, because then no decisions get made, and they prefer that. Usually the stock market likes when there's no money being spent and nothing is happening. So at this point, maybe we kind of want a reversal. Maybe we've been spending too much. So again, these are things we don't know, and we can just kind of speculate on it and just follow along. Let me see here. Sorry, I'm just checking through the comments here. Sophie, so I do want to address this. So if you guys had seen it, I saw a flurry of them yesterday. Warren Redlick had posted it on Twitter as well. There was a massive scam bot thing going on over on YouTube. And it was just all massive scam about, Bitcoin, Elon Cathy, Model 4 coming out. That is all spam. I do think that there's a Model 4 or whatever, a compact car coming out. I definitely know it's coming, but that whole video segment about it, I clicked on 3 of the videos just to see what was going on. All scam stuff. It was all videos from Elon talking at the Bitcoin conference thing way back in the beginning of the year. There was a whole bunch of other stuff that was going on. It was another video clip from the Tesla Silicon Valley. All scam. So something's coming, but that was not it. Let's see here. Hello there. Yeah, Logan, definitely. I'm considering this a good long-term buying opportunity. Yeah, Clues, I'm actually looking at, which do you suggest? Because I'm using, this is Weeble, and I know I want to try Tastyworks and see how that works to make it easier to read. So I'm definitely open to suggestions. Let me know what you use. Sorry, I'm losing my share screen here. Let's see. Is Giga Berlin affected by Russian oil tensions? They could be, because we had the natural gas line, which was supposed to be down for 3 days for just some maintenance. And of course, when it went down, everybody's anticipating it's not going to reopen. And sure enough, Russia's saying for whatever reason that it's going to be down indefinitely. So this is something a lot of people have been talking about, a big concern about the natural gas. Tesla does use the natural gas, especially for the Giga press. So it could be a concern. But if you look at all the Giga castings that Tesla has been producing, both between Berlin and over in Austin, there has been a lot of castings. So I think this is something that Tesla has been anticipating. So just in case they cannot make any castings, they've got them in Austin. They can ship them over to Berlin and continue producing over there. This is how Tesla works. Tesla is always prepared for anything that could happen. They see a potential hang-up. They say, hey, this could be a bottleneck. Let's come up with a solution for it. Bang, let's crank out as many castings as we can. So if this ends up going through and we cannot produce anymore in Berlin, we got them in Austin, send them on over. Tesla's prepared. So, how long it's going to last, obviously, we don't know how many castings they have, but we have seen that they can produce way more castings in Austin than they can use. So they may end up just continuing to do that for however long this natural gas situation is going to be going on. Oh, that is a great point. Let me see where my settings are here. Is this it? General, where's my dark mode? I may have to actually just change the entire dark mode. I'll work on that. That's a great idea. So I will change that out as soon as I can figure out how to do that. I just won't do it here in the live stream. So I want to get to some of the things that I had seen for the oil. Like I said, I've been getting a lot of information about this stuff. So the first thing that one of my friends had sent me was from YaleClimateConnections.org. And it's electrifying transportation reduces emissions and saves massive amounts of energy. So this is something we've known, but looking at just some of the stats that we have in here. So let me see. Previous post showed charging an EV costs around the equivalent of $1.41 per gallon. So obviously, clearly, significantly less. I don't know what you guys are paying for gas right now. Right here in Connecticut, it's still $3.89 per gallon. So when looking at it, the ICE vehicles, and I don't know how many of you knew this because I did not, but 80% of the gas that you put into your vehicle is burned off and not actually used to help your vehicle go forward. That is how inefficient ICE vehicles are. Now, EVs burn off energy as well, but not anywhere near as much, and we'll get into that in a minute. But looking at these numbers here, so you've got, engine loss itself, just the heating, because you need to have fans and cooling and all sorts of things in the engine just to remove the heat that is in there. And you're losing nearly 3/4 of your fuel to just, energy and the engine losses. And then parasitic losses is the parts where they're trying to get rid of the heat, and then drivetrain losses. So when you're looking at it, only 16 to 25% of the gas that you put into your vehicle actually gets your vehicle to go forward. Now, when you're looking down with EVs, so going to EVs, you've got 87 to 91% of the electricity that you put into your vehicle gets your vehicle to move forward. So again, you're still losing some, but not anywhere near as much as you lose with ICE vehicles. So breaking down the dollar amounts on all of this, let me see, I can't remember where it was in here. So right now in the US, about 8.9 million barrels of motor gasoline are used every single day. And so 80% of that is just burned from inefficiency in vehicles. So of the amount of total gasoline burned, only 1.8 million barrels, is what's used to move the vehicle forward. So we're wasting, look at it, 7.1 million barrels of oil we are wasting just to get our vehicles to go forward. And so if we can switch over, think about how much oil it is. Now you talk about, we're going to get into some other numbers and some other information that I got, just puts it all together. And I'm like, oh, that's very interesting as to why we're seeing some of the, points going along the way. Let me see. So now we're looking at, all right, well, they talk about, the thermal power plants. So, okay, well, that's great. But now we're looking at how inefficient some of the ways we can charge our vehicles are. So when it comes to, gas, you're burning all this oil. Coal reduces the energy use by 31%. Natural gas reduces it by 48%. Replacing it with gasoline, replacing gasoline with hydropower is 75%. And they go into this article and discuss how, hydropower, looking at solar power, the wind power, all of these renewable energy sources are going to be reducing energy use by 75%. So not only are you saving all this money and saving the environment, but you're saving and reducing the amount of energy use needed just to function. That's enormous. And there was another number in here as well I wanted to share. Where was it? Maybe I did get it. So just looking at the efficiency of all of this, and then I started going into some tweets, and I don't think I have the tweets up, so I'll have to search for them, but not a big deal. Let me see. Oh, actually, it was mine. I had posted one. So right here, so OPEC is looking like we are going to be cutting their oil output by 100,000 barrels per day in October. So chances are we are going to see a bit more red in the market tomorrow. I don't know what the exact sources are for this, just hearing some sources. So I have not had a chance to see what the actual official sources are, but we know that as of September 1st, they were supposed to be increasing their output on oil, and they were not going to increase it by as much as everybody wanted. But apparently Joe Biden was over there and had discussions, and they agreed to increase the output. Now it looks like come October, they are going to be reducing that output by 100,000 barrels per day. So looking at gas prices and oil prices coming down, okay, well, now we're seeing how, oil is going to be falling off of the radar because it's so inefficient. As the EV adoption takes place, we are going to be replacing a lot of the oil. Now this goes into the next one that I had seen. And this is as EVs reach 15 to 20% adoption, Running a franchise gas station will become unprofitable as sales drop 20%. This leads to closure of many highway and neighborhood gas stations, higher prices and long lines as local competitors disappear. Ann Arbor has more EV chargers than pumps. This is something I had actually made a video about last year in a 5-part series that I made about the transition over the next decade from gas stations to EV charging stations. We're already seeing that happening a lot of places here in the US, and you guys can let me know. I know, like when I was in Norway, I saw it happening there as well, and they're leading the way when it comes to EV transition. And so you're going to see this, and you're going to see the gas stations that are going to survive are the ones who are taking and putting in EV charging stations, because they're going to be losing massive profits as this is changing over. So we're going to be changing over to EVs. They lose their profits. They are now relying more on people stopping there to buy whatever they can in the stores, just so that they can try to meet profits. There's not a lot of profit to be made on the oil when it comes to the gas stations as it is. So if gas prices are going to continue to come down, OPEC is trying to drop the oil output so that they can keep the prices of oil higher so that they can continue to charge more for oil, because they're seeing this whole thing taking place. Then as we transition to all EVs, more and more gas stations are going to be going under because they have not put in EV charging stations. And I think by the end of the decade, we're going to be seeing EV charging stations that have gas pumps are going to be the rarity, versus now where you start to see, gas stations that have EV charging stations as the rarity. That's going to completely flip by the end of the decade. And so just seeing those little things, I'm like, oh, this is just looking at the way the EV adoption is going to really change everything going forward. And of course, we're talking about Tesla and how their production is going. The more they produce, the more it's going to take over. And I think this turn is going to happen very quickly. So we've seen that valley of death diagram that's out there, and it's between 2023 and 2027, where there's going to be a massive gap in people who need vehicles and they want EVs because they're not going to buy ICE. And seeing things like this, people are going to be like, well, we're getting close to price parity. Why am I going to want to buy an ICE vehicle? Right now, there's not a point where there's a lot of ICE vehicles that are out there, or EVs that are out there, that are very low end price. So we're getting to that point that will be coming. And going back to Sophie's thing, yes, the Model 4 is not reality yet, but I think it's coming for sure. And we're going to see that coming. And when we see that come, then all of a sudden, that's when the price parity hits. And it'd be just silly for anybody to buy an ICE vehicle, other than the people who are like with the smartphones who still use a flip phone right now. That's the people who are going to still be buying ICE vehicles, because they're just so unsure about what EVs are. And even though it's still a car that you can drive, people are going to be like, I don't know how to charge it. I don't know what I need to do for this. It's so overwhelming for me to change from what I already know over to an EV, despite the fact that it's really not that much. And so those are the people who won't change. Otherwise, I think this is where we're going to be in the future. Let me see here. Yes, like the live streams. I actually didn't know this either, so thank you. It helps the algorithms. Hello, Karav. How's it going? Hello there. All right. What else I want to get into? Oh, yeah. So Alexandra over on Twitter, for those of you guys who are over there, talking about the credit rating. I'm actually going to do 2 videos, 2 separately. So, this may be repetitive. I'm going to put up a video for the oil stuff, and I'm put up another one for the credit rating. But Alexandra had been doing some more stuff discussing the credit rating. And there was a little video, and I'll put it up here. I'm not going to play it, but you guys can see it. Let me see. Let me see. Oh, and Alexandra liked and shared my video. Thank you. Appreciate it, Alexandra. Wow, she got a, so I think it was this one. So if you guys check it out, so there's a piece in here where it's got Moody's and it's got S&P discussing, why they're not increasing the credit rating to investor grade yet. And both of them kind of have the same reasoning behind it. And it's great. Tesla has made massive progress. They've gone from just a couple of years ago not being profitable to having massive profits last year. They just want to see a continuation of that. Not to say that they don't have faith that it's going to continue. They just want to see that continuation of it. So I think Q3 is really what's going to kind of push us past that when it comes to S&P. They both also want to see the conviction behind the Cybertruck. And they both mentioned the Cybertruck specifically about how, like I had mentioned the other day, hey, let's get up here, like put up the order page, Tesla. I think when we see the order page for the Cybertruck, they can then see the pricing. They can work the pricing out when it comes to profitability. They want to see vehicle gross margins, being over 18%. So looking at the numbers that they want, they're just trying to put these pieces together and say, all right, is Tesla really still moving in this direction? They have faith. When talking with S&P, he's like, not to say it's not going to happen. He sees it happening, and he actually thinks that we are going to see an investor grade rating at the S&P before the end of the year. So by the end of the year, we're most likely going to see it for the S&P. Moody's, on the other hand, may drag their feet a little bit. This may be why Elon was saying that Moody's is irrelevant, because S&P is most likely going to grant them investor grade rating by the end of the year. So my prediction has been November 8th, my birthday. So I still think it's going to be end of October, beginning of November, we will see that investor grade rating coming out of the S&P. So that'll be huge. So the way I look at it is, I think it's still going to be the macro that's going to be kind of controlling us at the time. But if we get past the macro and we start to hit that kind of nice macro run middle of October, and then especially getting to election day, and once we pass election day, which usually is right around my birthday also, we hit that point and I think we can take off. I think it may be very much like we saw in 2020 when Tesla got included into the S&P, and it soared from there. I think timing wise, if we get the S&P credit rating upgrade at the same time as the elections are getting finished, then we can see the entire market rally, and then Tesla outperform the market massively going into the end of the year. Again, I don't have a crystal ball, just looking at how we've been trading, looking at a lot of the sentiment and the news, kind of feel like that's going to happen. Let me see your comments here. Oh, hello from Berlin, Germany. How's it going over there? How close are you to the factory? Have you checked it out? I would imagine you have. So I took German myself, actually, for 3 years in college. I do not remember a lot, but I can remember a few things. Oh, is it? I haven't even looked. Yeah, if it's a Tuesday, I've had it. Like, those were the best days when I was in school, was election day, because I was like, oh, my birthday, I get my day off of school. It was awesome. Let me see, Clueless. Self-driving will be bigger than EVs, and robo-taxis will be even bigger. That's very true. So I think it's going to be the next step. So obviously, EVs and full self-driving is going to be basically the gateway to the robo-taxis. But once we get to that point, that's what's going to be massive. And the transition, that's where it's going to be very weird, is the transition. Once we get down the road, none of us may be alive at the point where we have all autonomous vehicles on the road, and humans like maybe aren't even allowed to drive. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but I think if it comes down to regulations and people are seeing, hey, even these few human drivers that are on the road are unsafe, compared to, autonomous driving vehicles, we may get to that point. I don't know. Obviously, that's a long, long ways away, but I think these are going to be the first baby steps leading to that, and that could be massive. Let's see. Thanks, Dina. I appreciate that. And with all you guys, I definitely feel like I will. Ooh, Karav. 21.5 VIN Model Y delivered. Ooh, that's big. So we're still moving up nicely. So pace wise, that looks like we are still. I know somebody was talking the other day about Berlin getting close to 2,000 vehicles per week coming out of there. So that looks like we're pushing up closer to that. So that's great information. Sophie, we've had kind of a non-election day here in the UK. Yeah. So I don't even know when election day is over there. So is that what today is for you guys? But I know that you guys have definitely some political things going on over there to get cleaned up. Oh, I haven't been to the factory. Awesome. Yeah, you'll have to get over there and let us know how it is. Let me see. I'm a bit concerned about all the lockdowns happening again in China. Some 60 million people on lockdown now, although there are only 1,500 reported cases. Yeah, that's always been a concern over there in China. Again, something coming up, and I've been hearing little murmurs about that as well. We'll see how it affects Tesla. Obviously, with the other factories ramping, they're nowhere near Shanghai yet, so it could still be a big damper on Tesla. But again, if even if it does happen again, it'll be very much like Q2, where it's just that one, we say a one-time issue, but then here it comes again. But we will get past this, and eventually, as Tesla ramps up their other factories, the reliance on Shanghai won't be as strong. And Tesla now going through it the first time may end up coming up with solutions to get around it. So they came out of it and they had a closed loop system that was going on for production over in Shanghai. They probably have that still set up. So just in case they do end up getting another lockdown, they're just going to say, hey, all right, you shifts here, we're going to have a closed loop. You guys are good to go, and we can continue producing as normal. Then the only issues you have to worry about from there are going to be supply chain. But as Tesla does what they do, I have no doubt that they've been working on that and probably stockpiling a lot of the supplies that they need to continue production going. Let me see. Yeah, Boris Johnson out, Liz is in. Okay. Yeah, I knew so, and was Boris right wing or left wing? I thought was he left? I don't know enough about your politics. I just know that he got asked to step away, so he did, and that was that. So can China learn how to make an effective vaccine? I don't know. Yeah, without getting into too much of that, maybe I'll get Dr. Jack on here again for that and see what he says. Let's see. What else? There was something else I wanted to share with you guys today. Let's see, Karav. Does seem like they are skipping quite a bit of VINs in Berlin. Still, though, I've noticed an uptick in production. Spoiler alert for my post tonight, Berlin daily production, 293 per day. That is awesome, because I know last time you had mentioned it was 258. I will make a note of that, because with all of my updating of my spreadsheets this weekend, I did update my production. So I will be putting out for you guys my updated production. My price targets actually did go up for the end of the year based upon production ramps and how they've been speeding up a little faster than I had anticipated per day in Berlin. Sweet. Now let me see what other notes I had I was going to go over with you guys. S&P. Oh, that was the other one. Troy Teslake. Troy Teslake is the one who's been around for a while. Very good with numbers. Karav is our personal Troy Teslake for this channel, and I love it. If you guys do not follow Karav over on Twitter, definitely do that. It's at Tesla Karav. Let me see. Troy Teslake. So looking at the back orders, and Troy does a great job tracking these. So back orders right now, well, as of August 21st, were 457,000 versus 504,000 when it was at its peak back in July 27th. Now, I don't know if any of you guys saw it, but there's a lot of Tesla Q and bears coming out saying, look, their demand is dwindling. They don't have as much demand as they used to have. But then you remember that over the course of August, they upgraded, July, they upgraded the Model Y line. Beginning of August, they upgraded the Model 3 line. So production has picked up significantly over in Shanghai. So this is actually a good thing, because as he points out down here, it equates to 112 days of backlog production versus 123. And Tesla's actually aiming for 42 days, which is 6 weeks. That gives them a better ability to manage their inventory and just a better customer buying experience, as he says. As a consumer myself, like I've been literally waiting since last November. Now I pushed mine off in March, changed a few things. So I kind of got put to the end of the line again, and I went back to bare bones basics on my Model Y. But I was still looking out 8 to 9 months for my vehicle. That's a long time. I was prepared for that. I was not looking to get it anytime soon. And now the EV tax credit works out perfectly fine for me. But like people going to buy a car, especially like, hey, my car's about to break down. It's on its last leg. I desperately need something. So people who are like would normally go down to a dealership to buy a car, but they want a Tesla, they don't want to have to wait 6 to 9 months. 6 weeks makes a lot more sense, and say, hey, if I can limp my car through for the next month and a half, cool, I'll get my vehicle, my Tesla, and I'm good to go. So that's their goal. They're actually looking to bring it down to this way. And then when it comes down to that 42 days, they have all this massive pricing power. It is when they get to that point where, hey, maybe they're dipping down to 30 days of a backlog. Oh, cool. Now we can drop our pricing down a little bit. We still have massive margins. Costs on the vehicles have been coming down as it is, especially when they start putting the 4680 batteries in. Now they're going to be having lower costs, higher margins. They can play around with that and say, hey, you know what? We can take $3,000-$4,000 off of our vehicle. That's going to bring our demand back up a little bit, and they can play with that numbers. They have that cushion. Legacy Auto doesn't have that cushion. Legacy Auto now has, thankfully, a $7,500 cushion, courtesy of us taxpayers here in the U.S. That's all they got. They don't have anything else. I think if Ford was telling the truth, I believe the Ford F-150 Lightning is the only profitable vehicle that is being made by Legacy Auto here in the U.S. So, you know, that $7,500 cushion, and I don't even know how far under all of the other Legacy Automotive vehicles are. Maybe they're under more than 7,500. Maybe 7,500 only gets them to break even. So it's going to be ugly. And Tesla has this massive extra cushion that they can use with that $7,500. Again, Tesla doesn't need this. Tesla does not need that EV tax credit, but they've got it. So they've got it and they can utilize it. Let me see here. All right, Boris, yeah, he's also conservative. Okay. Let's see. I remember one of your videos saying Tesla could get split 4 times. Why do you think it would be 4-to-1 split rather than 3-to-1 like we just had? So I was breaking it down, and actually, I do need to redo those numbers. When I did the math, and a lot of people pointed out when it comes to the buybacks, how much they would actually need to do in buybacks in order to do the 4-to-1 splits. Probably would not be advantageous for Tesla to do that many. Or I don't even know if they would have, at least for the first 1 or 2, might not even have enough cash flow coming in to do the buybacks. I've got to redo that. So 3-to-1s may make more sense. And I was doing the 4-to-1 because I was anticipating them doing the 3-to-1 this time around, strictly because of the fact that we were in a downward market, with a market going into a potential recession. 3-to-1 was safer, especially if you do a 4-to-1 split or a 5-to-1 or 10-to-1 like people wanted. You bring that price down to $100. Now you're going to have the bears come and pounce on it. Shorts are going to come in, drive that stock price way down, probably further than it should be. So I think doing the 3-to-1 was just Elon and Tesla's way of being a little safer and more cautious. We've already seen a big pullback as it is. So if we continue to get this pullback, they still have that cushion. So I think that $200 to $250 range is where they want it to be. And with this pullback coming, we're going to get to that level. So I think going forward, if we're going to be coming out of this, you know, by the time they do the next one, we should be going into the beginnings of another bull market. So doing a 4-to-1 at that point could make more sense because there's going to be less downward pressure and more room for it to run afterwards. So they do the 4-to-1, they do some buybacks, bring the stock price back up, and then they can continue to run from there. That was my reasoning and thesis behind it. Let me see. You've only had to wait 5 weeks for your Model Y in Sweden. That's awesome. So I'm assuming that's going to be one coming out from Berlin. And if that is the case, let us know if it is a Berlin Model Y. Do you have a VIN assigned to it already? If you do, let us know what that VIN number is, because that could help Karav significantly. Let us know when it is and when you ordered it. Ford stock is finished. Yeah, actually, that was another thing they discussed on that talk about credit rating upgrades. And Ford needs to get upgraded also. And they really didn't talk much about it. So I think Ford might not get that investor grade rating, at least not anytime soon. They've got a lot more to prove when it comes to EVs and what they're going to be doing. Oh, you got it already. Okay. It was Chinese. All right. So, and actually, that is a good point, though. If any of you guys are over there in the EU or in the UK, and you are anticipating a vehicle coming in, definitely let us know if it's coming out of Berlin and what the VIN number is, because that can give us direct information as to where they're at with production. Let's see. GM is dead. Also, $25 million. Yeah. GM's going to go. GM right now is being floated along by a lot of a lot of corruption right now, literally are being held up and suspended by corruption. And as soon as the reality hits the fan, it's going to be bad news, and they're going to be toast. And I think 2025 is definitely the year where we see what legacy auto is going to make it. Truly, I think Ford is going to make it. I think because of the fact that they've gotten themselves down to their niche market, I think they're going to succeed in their niche market. They're going to be okay. Probably still not the size as they used to be, but that's fine. Ford's going to do fine. GM, on the other hand, who wants to make all of these vehicle models, and they're saying that the reason that they're okay with doing this is because they have a versatile Ultium battery, and the battery can be used in all of their vehicles. But the battery is not that good. Like, it's a functional battery, sure, but like the technology is so old already as it is, and then it's so unprofitable to make such a wide breadth of vehicles. You're not even profitable with the couple that you've got out here right now. So how are you possibly going to be profitable with all of these other ones? You're going to be spending a lot of money. You're already massively in debt. Unless they get more bailouts, I cannot fathom GM doing well. Now we're going to go off topic for a hot minute. David, you mentioned you do Beachbody. Have you done P90X? Just started doing it and feel unreal. Yes, that was what I started with, was P90X. This is something Dr. Jack and I talked about. Health is so huge and important for this. I mean, we've actually been seeing Elon tweeting about how, he's been fasting to work on his health after we saw the pictures of Elon over in Greece. He looks like he has a Cybertruck body. So he's taking care of his health. Warren Redlick is on Twitter talking about his health. Health is so important. You guys can't enjoy all of this wealth that you're trying to gain from Tesla's stock if you don't have your health. So you definitely have to take care of your health. So I've done P90X. Actually, I've been doing 22-minute hardcore. The last month has been very stressful for me. Been a lot going on in my work life. So I know getting to work out is big to help that. I can mitigate some of that stress. But I've been kind of mitigating that stress by being on here with you guys, focusing on the channel, building the channel, because the bigger I build the channel, the faster I can get it to a point where I can step away from my job. That is currently my goal right now. So I'm trying to do as much as I can to build this channel, provide good content for you guys, and grow this so I can step away. And then I'm going to really focus more on my health again. But I felt good when I was in San Diego. Did 22 miles hiking, a pretty significant elevation. So felt good about that. But yes, Beachbody and P90X, awesome workouts. Yeah, so Karav, definitely. So if you guys get that information for VIN numbers out of Berlin or anywhere else for that matter, actually, even Austin VIN numbers are good to get. Just let us know. You can share it on here. You can, if you're on Twitter, check it with Tesla Karav. Let him know over there so this way we can get some info. Hope the Twitter deal will be off the table soon. Court case, then Elon can start a huge buyback program. Yeah, his own personal buyback program. So I think what's going to end up happening with Twitter, and Gary Black has been talking about it, they may settle beforehand. I check daily to see if Elon's been selling his shares of Twitter. He has not. So I think even Elon doesn't really know what's going to transpire when it comes to this whole court case. So I think if Elon is forced to buy it, obviously he's going to keep those shares of Twitter. He's going to have to buy the rest of it. So be it said and done. If he buys it for less, we'll see how much the difference is. Maybe he does have money left over that he's going to be putting into Tesla again. Maybe he keeps it on the side for something else. Again, don't know that. But if they do end up ruling in Elon's favor and he does not have to buy Twitter, then we'll see him dump his shares of Twitter and he'll be able to buy back into Tesla. So that, yes, would be Elon's personal buyback program for us, which is awesome. Ooh, 2-mile run today. That's awesome. Yeah, usually on the weekends when you guys see me doing my hiking videos, it's usually about a 2-mile hike that I do. Not aggressive. I like to do something more aggressive, but it's local and I can get out, get some fresh air, just get some exercise, get the heart rate going a little bit. How can Mary still be CEO? Seriously, I don't know. Going through what we go through here in the US, everybody's pushing for women in power and this and that. And I'm all for that. I'm all for equality. And if you qualify for the job and you're the best person for the job, dang, take it. Like, have at it. I have no problems with any of that. But clearly she is not doing a good job from our standpoint. Looking at the numbers, looking at how they've been doing, I don't see that. And every time I hear her talk, and I'm very attuned to people and how they talk and carry themselves, and her body language and her vocabulary tell me that she has no idea what's going on and she's scared and she's just telling us what people want to hear versus the truth and reality of what's going on. And I think that she is just hoping that over the next 3 years, GM can actually come through on some of these things to make her look like she's not a complete failure. That's just my perspective from what I'm seeing from it. But I cannot see them lasting more than 3 years, or at least her not lasting more than 3 years. I don't think it's going to go well for her. Let me see what else we got. What other information we got? That was really it. I'm gonna have to make individual videos for all this stuff, but I was getting some great information over the last couple of days about all of this stuff. But yeah, looking at the week coming up, we'll go back to the charts really quick and see what's going on there. Let me see. So again, on this downward trend, and we see the stock coming down. I personally like it. I'm adding more at the 245 level. Actually, the 250 level, I'm going to be adding heavier. If we dip further, I'm going to go down. Some people think we're going to hit 220. So what I'm going to look for at this point here, when you're following the downward channel, is follow right around this point right here. So we've got the support and we've got the downward channel. So if we can see getting to this point and then maybe kind of poking above this and then start working on a consolidation. So that's when we are going to be sliding out of this, is when we hit that consolidation point. And that will be your indicator going forward, is follow the trend down and then see when we start to poke above this line right here. When you see us poke above this line, then you're going to say, okay, now what's the next step? And it's really a day-to-day thing. So this is why I check it day-to-day for you guys and see where we're trending, because if we start to see something, and we could break out anytime. I mean, heck, all of a sudden tomorrow OPEC can be like, we're going to release a ton more oil. The war in Russia and Ukraine is over. Russia has opened up the natural gas lines again. We can break right out of this anytime. It doesn't have to wait until this point, but that's what I'm looking at. And when you're looking at the charts, trending in that direction, looking at the RSI can still come down a little bit more. So if we continue to trend down, totally normal. That's kind of where it's going to be at. And that's what I'm paying attention to, is it's just these levels. And that's why I add as we come down. And then when I see us consolidate at that consolidation point, that is where I'm going to be like, all right, now I can dump my money in heavier because we're consolidating. Consolidation usually leads to a breakout or a breakdown. So at that point, when we start consolidating, I'll be paying more attention to, the news, or where we at? Are we at with the midterm elections? Where are we at with CPI and inflation and the interest rates going up? So then I can say, all right, well, based upon the information we have, I can foresee a potential breakout coming, especially with Tesla specific news. And then we can get the breakout. So I've now added heavier at that consolidation point, and then we break out. That's my anticipation. We'll see how it plays out as we go. Let me see. How can GM afford to pay a 9-cent dividend? They can't afford it. Yeah, no kidding. And Jerry, you're absolutely right. And that's why, even when I talk about Tesla and dividends, it's when a company decides to do dividends, it's kind of like once you do it, you have to always do it. There is no turning back. And some people during, COVID and the lockdowns and everything that we had over the last 2 years, some did stop it. You saw that when these companies were like, all right, we're suspending dividends, their stock plummeted because people are like, we want our dividends. We bought this stock just because we wanted those extra dividends on the side. I would not buy a stock just because of dividends. It doesn't pay enough to make it worthwhile. You want growth and dividends, even if it is small growth, because a lot of times the companies will do dividends because they have seen that the growth in the company is slowing down. So they're going to pay out the dividends to kind of make up the difference for the lack of growth. So when it comes to Tesla, they may actually be at a point, I'm anticipating maybe in the early 2030s, where they still have massive growth ahead of them, but so much cash coming in that they can also pay out dividends. It could be one of those very unique situations where it's going to be a strong, high growth company that is also paying out dividends. Kind of similar to what Apple was doing over the last decade. They were still pretty decent growth, not what Tesla's looking at, but they were pretty decent growth over the last decade and were paying out dividends. Totally possible. And I think that may be what ends up happening for Tesla. But for a company like GM, dude, you're buried in debt. Why are you paying out your shareholders? Oh, that's right. It's because you're paying them out because you're corrupt and you need to pay them because that's the deal you made with them to keep you afloat. That's my take. No facts behind that, but pretty darn obvious. Let me see. Steve Farmer Music. If you guys don't follow Steve is awesome. He plays 90s country music all over the country. I cannot wait to go watch him. And if you ever see him, definitely buy him buy him margaritas and tacos. Just home from the road, being lazy in my backyard, swing, watching. But you've just motivated me to at least go to the park for a walk. I'm on my way. Health and newly realized old age is a must. Yes. And I noticed here, I'm 42, going to be 43. And whereas like I would take some time off, like it definitely hits you faster. I mean, I don't consider myself old at all. But it definitely hits me faster when I'm not working out. Recovery time is slower. Like when I have an off day, I'm off, and it's not as good. So staying on top of it is important. It's much harder to get back into it when you take more time off. Let's see. Sophie, $250 would be great. I'm still holding until I see it lower and get around 3 shares. Yeah, and for me, again, timing the bottom is nearly impossible. Trying to time the market, I mean, forget it. It's not easy at all to time the market. That's why I use the charts and sentiment and news to kind of figure out where I think a general bottom is going to be. That's just how I do it. But again, that's why I dollar cost average daily. And that's why I will add more as we come down, because I don't know when we turn around. Again, like I said, we could have massive news that comes out that all of a sudden breaks us out of this and we take off to the moon. And all of a sudden, if I was waiting for the $250 level and we never hit there, it's like, when you're playing options, you're, selling a put, you say, hey, I'm selling a put at $250 because I think it's going to come down that far. You get paid your premium. If it comes down that far, awesome. You get your shares and then it goes back up. But if the stock goes up before then, you don't get your shares. You get the premium, cool, but you don't get the shares that you want. That's why for me, when I do get to play options, one of the things I will do is end up selling puts, but like hedging them basically. I still have my main portfolio with all of my shares. And then, I'll be like, hey, I think based on these trends, we're coming down. I'm going to sell myself a put here. Cool. And then wait to see if it happens. If it doesn't trigger, fine. I still have my shares. If it does, awesome. Then I get even more. And I know Clueless has been talking about leaps as well. That's something I need to learn more about, is with the leaps. But leaps are another good way to play this. The 3 ways I have heard people playing options for Tesla, and again, I don't have a lot of experience, selling the puts, leaps, and then selling covered calls or covered calls. So covered calls are a little more dangerous because you're basically giving up some of your shares. But again, I don't know enough about covered calls to talk too much about it. Dean, I'm 6 foot and weigh 142 pounds. Am I overweight? No. I hope you're joking. I mean, even if you're 142, that's fine. I've seen, like, one of my buddies was very much the same. 6'3", and I actually weighed more than he does, and I'm 5'8". Let's see. Karav, the SPY monthly chart is ridiculously similar to the SPY 208 chart before the massive crash. Yeah, somebody had posted that the other day, and I had seen the same thing. I'm actually curious because the housing market, people are anticipating that coming down based upon information that we're getting from a bunch of real estate agents. And I'm looking to buy a house myself. So I'm seeing a lot of prices coming down, more houses coming onto the market, better quality houses coming onto the market now. So there's not as many buyers out there as there were, and prices are coming down. And usually the housing market will crash 6 months after the stock market. So if we're anticipating a housing market crash come the end of the year, then that would mean that maybe that bottom we got in June was the bottom of the stock market. But if we're following charts, like you say, for the 2008, maybe we do have further to go. Again, I don't know. Nobody actually knows what the future is going to bring. There's just a lot of speculation, people doing their own due diligence and research and saying, hey, based upon what I'm seeing, this is a potential. So for me, I always look at it and say, yes, it is a potential, and I am prepared for it. As I mentioned on here regularly, cash flow generation. I made my video about it yesterday, sharing my income and investments and how I have a lot of cash on the side to buy a house, getting ready for when that market does come down. I have a lot of cash. I have about 11.5% cash in my portfolio right now, waiting to buy more for Tesla, but I'm not going to dump it all in. I'm only going to put probably 4 or 5% into the stock when we hit my target levels of the 250 range. And then I'm still going to build up cash after that, because if we do fall down further, I'll deploy more. We've seen it happen with actually a lot of funds and stuff over the course of the year. You'll see, like, basically the end of every quarter, you see a fund go out there, and all of a sudden Kathy Wood's buying a lot, Ross Gerber's buying a lot, and they're buying in more when we see what they anticipate to be a bottom of that quarter area, and they dump some cash in. and they're doing that regularly. A lot of times ETFs and funds aren't allowed to hold cash, so they're moving funds from one place to another, but they're moving it into the stocks as they see these dips coming. So they're still dollar cost averaging themselves. They don't know when the bottom is going to be, but when they see what they anticipate is a bottom of the moment, then they'll put some money in there. And we just do it on a small level here. But having that cash flow coming in, because they've got their inflows and outflows for their clients, putting money in, taking money out as well. And so for me, it's my own personal cash flow. It's coming in, and I want to make sure I have that cash flow generation, because if I dumped all of my money in, long term, I still think Tesla's going to be fine. So I'm not going to be disappointed. But if I wanted to continue to buy more as we dip more, got to have more cash coming in. Let's see. CPI is due the 13th. You are correct. Yep, the 13th. So not this week, but next week. It'll be next Wednesday. That there, and I don't know. So looking at what we've seen for the last CPI data is coming out, and I will have to do a quick update and review on what the latest expectations are. Expectations, the last I saw, were 8.7% again, same as they were in August. But August we hit 8.5%. We have been seeing oil prices coming down, commodity prices coming down. I've been hearing about rent prices coming down across the country here in the U.S. as well. That plays a big role in the numbers of inflation. So if they're anticipating 8.7 again, and we actually come in like an 8.3 or an 8.1, we might see a nice little rally, because right now a lot of this is contingent upon what the Fed is going to be doing for interest rates. All right, well, the Fed, when we got the jobs report came in basically flat to where we expected it, so no big deal there. So it wasn't going to help us indicate whether the Fed was going to go with a 75 or a 50 basis point hike. So currently right now, the market is pricing in 70% chance of a 75 basis point hike. If we get a lower than expected inflation reading coming for the CPI, we could very well see the interest rate go to, maybe it's a 70% chance of a 50 basis point hike. And then all the algorithms will take those numbers and then run the stock prices up accordingly to get to that point. So CPI, I think, is going to be that is going to be a data point that the market is going to be paying attention to. We've seen fake outs in the past as well. We've seen us come in low and the market's like rally and then crashes afterwards. So just things to pay attention to. But yeah, I think CPI is going to give us an indication of which way the market is going to move. And if we do end up rallying, and I'll pay attention because we get CPI, the next day we get PPI. And if the market goes green afterwards, and then green again after PPI, and then we finish the week green, I think that could lead us to a very strong end to the Q3. But again, just information to come to, so we'll pay attention to that next week. Let me see. If we lose the 200 monthly average on the monthly S&P, is most likely we get deep cut 50%. Yeah. So Warren Buffett sold some of his BYD, and I did a video on that. It wasn't anywhere near. It wasn't a lot. It was a small percentage of his stake in BYD. But he was talking about he's anticipating a further correction coming. We're almost in correction territory as it is right now. I think NASDAQ actually is in correction territory because it's down more than 10% from its recent highs. S&P is pretty darn close. If we continue the downtrend that we're on, we will be in correction territory for the S&P and the NASDAQ. And if he sees a deeper correction coming, 20% means another bear market. So whether we get to that point or not, I don't know. But, if we're tracking this and people think it's coming, it might actually happen. Because a lot of times you're looking at charts and it's self-fulfilling prophecies when people follow charts. And there's a lot of people and algorithms that follow the charts. Let me see. I have been burnt far too many times trying to be clever with timing. I buy every month as soon as I get paid now. Yeah, I mean, whatever dollar cost average works for you guys. Historically, dollar cost averaging is going to net you the best gains. Some people, if some people get lucky and time the market well, awesome. They're going to most likely outperform people who just dollar cost average. But on average, people who dollar cost average are going to do better than everyone else. So I try to play both sides of this. I dollar cost average daily, and I work, my buying in as we dip, and then I try to find levels where I want to add heavier. So I kind of try to play both ends of the spectrum on that to, be ahead of the regular just dollar cost averaging like that. That's just my strategy. And it's been working out very well for me over the course of the year. But yeah, it's definitely something to take a look at. Dean, why is it a VIN number? That stands for vehicle identification number. That is true. We say, what was it? There was something else I was saying the other day that was very much the same. A VIN number. Yeah, it's a VIN. It's not a VIN number. It's a VIN. You're right. But VIN number. Let's see. David, late to the party. That's all right. Party's still going on for a little while longer. I don't know. How long have we been on? Almost an hour. I'll be getting off soon. I'm getting hungry. But I want to go through any other comments we've got here. Let me see. There will never be dividends, just share buyback and dividend shares. You could be absolutely right. Looking at the growth trajectory that Tesla is on, I don't see dividends coming at this point. From what I can see, dividends will not come until Optimus is out there and Optimus is mainstream and in full swing production. But again, who knows what's going to happen? 3 years ago, Optimus wasn't even on our radars. So who knows what's going to happen over the next decade, what new things are going to be coming up that Tesla's going to be like, oh, this is the next thing we want to invest our money into. So dividends may not happen. They don't. Based upon the information we have currently right now, I'm anticipating maybe early 2030s, but you may very well be right. Dividends may never happen. And as far as Elon is alive and driving the company forward, that could very well be true because he's always going to come up with something new. Thanks, Dean. I appreciate that. And truly, guys, I appreciate all of your support. Without you guys, I wouldn't be here. I'm actually going to be putting up memberships. It's something I've now qualified for through YouTube. And by the way, congratulations to all of us. We have hit 1 million views for the channel cumulatively. That is awesome. A million views. I really started pushing this channel last year, end of September. So in 11 months, we've hit 1 million views. Guys, that's amazing. And I'm going to start doing memberships. And I don't have a lot of extra to add just because I'm so busy with my job. So for me, I'm going to make them super cheap. It's going to be like a $1, $2, and $4 memberships. And I'm going to add some little perks in there for you guys for it. And it'll be, basically just a little tip for me, say, hey, thanks, a little support for the channel. And I'll give you guys some little extra perks on top of that. I've got some really cool like Tesla emblems I had made up for it. But I'll introduce those to you guys over the next week. For that, but it's just a thank you to you guys, and a way for you guys to help support the channel any further. But thank you, Dean. I appreciate that. Danny would love to see dividends by 2030. I know it's not the consensus, but should be for a long time investors. Yeah. The growth we're going to get out of the stock, dividends are really just going to be like the icing on the cake. So the amount of money we're going to have coming from just the growth of the stock alone, don't need dividends, I think, at that point. But dividends, I'm not going to complain about whatsoever. So if they come, awesome. It's just, to me, dividends are more like just an easier way to have passive income coming in than, having the shares and either having to sell them or, doing options calls and getting premiums off of it. That's just my take on it. And I just like to be lazy. Maybe get some volume soon. Yeah, volume I think is going to start picking up over the next week or so. 100 shares could sell calls now. Yeah, I don't have 100 shares yet. And so for those of you guys who don't know, when it comes to options contracts, one contract is 100 shares. So that's how options work. So that's why, I can't play options yet. I've got 66% of my portfolio is Tesla. But like when it comes to the dollar amounts, I don't have enough shares. I don't have enough money to buy 100 shares of stock right now. So that's just where I'm at. I'm still a little guy. What are your thoughts that Chicken Genius believes Tesla is going to fall to 140 a share? So my thoughts are Chicken Genius, smart guy. He's been right about a lot of things in the past. He may very well be right about this. When I hear guys like them who have pretty decent credibility saying things like this, I put in the back of my head, this is a potential. For me, it's a small possibility percentage, maybe a 5% chance of it happening. But it's in the back of my head as this where, I'm still going to pay attention and say, are we going to potentially fall back that far? It sounds to me like Ken is kind of getting a little sour on Tesla. I don't know. I personally don't know him. Just following him for the last year and what he has put out. When I first started following him last year, always wearing a Tesla shirt, rah, 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 Tesla cheerleader. And now like one of his friends who I think was the president of the Pacific region for Tesla, whatever, he was the guy who got let go. So, maybe he took it personally and now he's not happy about it. I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs on a personal level and why he's doing what he's doing. That's just my take. So could we hit 140 a share? Anything is possible. Truly, anything is possible. If all of a sudden OPEC comes out and says we're done with oil, natural gas gets shut down over in Germany forever. They don't open up any nuclear power plants to compensate for any of this. A lot of things can happen. We've seen, once in a lifetime scenarios happen 7 times this year so far. So who knows what's going to happen? Maybe we do crash down that far. As of right now, I don't see it, but anything is possible. And again, I'm ready for it either way. So, but to me, looking at that, if Tesla falls down that far, that means that we've had a massive market crash as well. And if we get a massive market crash, there could be larger implications for a lot of things going on. A lot of people losing their jobs, massive recession that we're going into, housing market crashing entirely. I think that is going to be, Tesla hitting 140 is going to be the least of our worries because there's going to be bigger macro issues going on. Let's see. 250 is a very likely gap fill. Yeah, you're right. The double top, and actually, let me see if I can go back to the chart here and show it. Yeah, so here it is, top. That's actually something to pay attention to also, and I don't talk about it a lot, but like we have the 314, it was like a 312 resistance line that I have up here. We topped it, and then we started to come down. And so looking at that, so I think actually that was the 940 level that we tapped twice, right? Because that was right before the split, because we were trying to see if we were going to break it before the split, and then we came down. So just little things that you learn when following the charts. And again, it's so many people are like, oh, charts and technical analysis don't work, but I mean, you can't argue with that. And again, it's not the charts itself that dictate it, but when you start looking at the sentiment and news that go around it, it's just a weird puzzle piece and a weird puzzle of things that come together and show, hey, this is what's happening. And that's why I try to take all of the pieces together and say, hey, this is where the charts are looking like they're going. This is what the news is looking like and anticipating what I think the news is going to be like coming up. Just kind of pay attention to that. Let me see. Clueless, leaps are nothing but calls. Oh, okay. Just longer, 1 or more years. You can buy a 2-year call for 8,000. Why suspend $27,000 for 100 shares? All right. Thank you for that, Clueless. So that's leaps. And I know you were saying the other day, we were talking in the comments about how leaps you can basically buy for a quarter of the price of what an actual call is. So options are definitely riskier than just playing with actual shares. So none of this is financial advice, just some education for you guys in case you're interested. Definitely do some more due diligence on this. I do not have enough education to teach you guys how to do options yet. But when I do start doing options, I'll share them on here with you guys. Very much like we've been talking on here about how, some of you guys appreciate my take on things because I'm still a little guy. And I'm not one of these guys who has multi-millions of dollars into the stock market. You guys are going on the journey with me. Like I'm going on this journey, I'm building myself up. And so when I get to the point of playing options, I'll be new and fresh at it as well. So when I make mistakes, you guys are going to know it because, I'm going to be new to it also. Yeah. And point made here, you have a chance of losing that. So again, with a leap going 2 years out, and I know you guys are having this specific conversation in the comments, you got to leap 2 years out, saying, hey, the leap is at $500. I think that Tesla stock's going to be at $500 in 2 years. Very well, at this point, based on what we know, could be. But if we get a massive crash and we hit a depression or whatever, and then the stock doesn't get to that $500 level because we trade sideways for a couple of years, then you could lose all of it. So again, higher risk. So it comes under risk reward, whatever your risk tolerance is, what you're willing to lose. So definitely make sure you do your research on that. Yeah, Dean, I'm the same way. I dollar cost average. As of right now, until I get enough to play options and I'm willing to lose, then that's what I'm going to do. Let me see. Go through this. You guys are talking about options. If you guys have more questions about options, they're discussing it in the comments. Let's see. Jose, I always pay my self first every week. I get paid enjoying the discount. Love my Tesla. Oh yeah. That's so I'm very much Very much. I don't. So I just do it every Friday because I get paid weekly. So every Friday I have my money go into, I have cash go into my account, but every day I have $20 go into Tesla, just from my account. Yeah, I think you're right. So I think that Tesla will take off once Q3 is in the books. Get it while it's cheap. That's my personal take on it right now. I fully agree. That's where we're going to be at. Buy as much as we can now. Not financial advice, but I'm paying attention to these levels, and I'll keep you guys posted on what I'm doing. But looking at, as long as we don't get any massive macro crashing going on, I think as long as the macro continues to go at the pace it's going, we're seeing the progress. We're seeing interest rates going up, inflation coming down. We're seeing that progress coming along. We get to the end of Q3, we get that investor grade rating, we finish with the elections, taken off to the moon. That's my take. Hopefully it happens. VIN number is like the Norm Macdonald joke. I love Norm Macdonald. ID. The I stands for the I. The D stands for identification. Oh man, that's awesome. More options talk. Let me see. Even the chicken has the bulk of his money in Tesla in his main account. He is only trading Tesla. So, and I'd heard that. So I hadn't watched any of his new stuff. So I thought he had sold out all of his Tesla, even from his main account. Maybe I'm mistaken. So if you want to clarify that, let me know. Maybe and I missed it. But from what I was hearing, he sold everything. So if he still has his main account, then that makes total sense, because he did that at the beginning of the year also, where he sold out of his trading account, which, I mean, hey, the guy called it right. He sold out in January and then picked back up again in March. He timed that one very well. Thank you. Yes, smash that like button. Let's see here. I'm going to finish up the comments and I'm going to get off of here. I got to go grab myself some dinner. Leave best owner shares too high. Dean, 6,000 by the end of September, 6,000 subscribers. Actually, so Vin over at Investment Club. So I started off the channel. I was doing a bunch of the stuff that, there's YouTube SEO. There's different things that you can do to help, get the algorithms to catch your channel, so to get viewed more. And there was something I was doing in the beginning with a lot of the tags. I didn't realize it was doing anything, so I kind of stopped doing it. And the channel was still growing nicely. And then Vin had introduced me to TubeBuddy, and TubeBuddy gives you a lot of information, and tags were a big piece of it. As soon as I did that, subscriber count went through the roof. So based upon the growth that I had been going, seems like September algorithms have changed a little bit. But if I get back onto that pace, I might actually hit 6,000 by the end of the week, which would be awesome. So thank you guys for all of your support with that. Liking and sharing helps the algorithm significantly. I have been, if anybody's over on Facebook, I'm over there as well. I'm not heavily active on it, but one of the things in the SEO is sharing on Facebook and getting likes and shares. So I put it over there anyway, just because why not? But then I also put it on Twitter. So any exposure is awesome, and I appreciate all of that. Paying yourself first is the ultimate hack. So little tip for you guys out there. Something that I've learned over the last few years since being a Beachbody coach and now having the YouTube channel, if you're looking for, we talk about businesses and how they do tax circumventing and getting around all of that stuff, get yourself a side gig. A side hustle is so important, because what you can do, for instance, with this channel, looking like right now I've made almost $7,000 with the channel. So I still have to pay taxes on that at the end of the year. But if I have enough write-offs that I can put for it, I don't have to pay the taxes on that 7,000, because I've offset that with expenses. That's how businesses work, and anybody can do that. You get you get your W-2s from your job, and totally losing train of thought with whatever the form is here, but you can utilize that. So I go to my accountant, I give them all the expenses, and so like my trip to San Diego, you have to actually work while you're on vacation. You can't just write vacations off. But I was making videos for you guys while I was out there, so I can write off that trip. So all of the money I spent on that trip, other than what I spent on for my son, I can write that off at the end of the year. My phone, I write off my phone all the time. Gas, I write off. My car payments when I had it, I wrote off. So there's a lot of different things that you can look at, and always talk to your accountant if you have one, or, make sure you reach out to an accountant to make sure you're writing off appropriate stuff. But a lot of the normal daily expenses that I had, I write off. So then the income that I'm having coming in, I don't have to get taxed on, because now I've written off a lot of that stuff. It's totally legal, nothing wrong with it. Just make sure you're doing your proper due diligence, keeping receipts and things. But again, going to Sophie's point, paying yourself, if you pay yourself, you can then write some of this off. It is payroll. You can technically, with children, and I don't know what it is anymore, but you can write off your children as tax write-offs and say, hey, they helped me in the office, they threw away trash, whatever it is. Lots of little different ways that you can circumvent a lot of this, and having those taxes come back to you at the end of the year means that you can invest more money. So that's just a little trick that I have learned, and I don't know what it's like in different countries, so you're going to have to do your own research over there. But that's why when it comes to businesses, having yourself a little side hustle, you can use this tax write-off. That's going to save you money in the end. You'll pay less taxes at the end of the year. You may actually get more money back in taxes when you file them, and then you can reinvest that accordingly. That's the way I've been doing it, and has paid off very handsomely. Let me see. David, I had never felt confident enough to try swing trading with some of my Tesla stocks. What are you thinking about it? When I first started, my dad is more of a swing trader, and he pays attention to the stock market every day. He sees it. He plays certain levels. He doesn't follow the charts like I do. He just goes on to, I can't remember where he goes, but they basically show support resistance levels. He pays attention to those things. He does very well in the stock market, just playing very basic swing trading. He's not looking for massive profits. He looks for his gains. He gets out, moves on to the next thing. He's not perfect. He takes his losses, but he's net positive at the end of every year. So he's been doing very well. He's even net positive this year, despite the market that we are in. So if you can follow it, and if I had the time and I could do this following the charts like I do, maybe I would do the same. But being a long-term investor in Tesla, I don't feel the need to swing trade. Some people do it, some people do both, like Ken does it himself. You have your main portfolio, which is hold and don't touch. And then you have the, hey, I want to do something. Let me swing trade a little bit and see what I could do. Swing trading to me is more risky than in long-term investing, but some people are successful with it. So, it comes down again to your risk tolerance level. Karav, totally forgot FSD prices got raised today. 19,000. Oh, I didn't know Canada's got raised today also. That is good. Because we know that today was the day that in the US, the prices for FSD went up to 15,000. So 15,000 here in the US, and I have no doubt it's going to go up more. I'm really curious how they're going to play this at the end of the year when it comes to the EV tax credit, because $15,000 could push some of these vehicles beyond the level of 80,000 to make them qualify. So is Tesla going to bring down the pricing of their vehicles so that people can still buy FSD and qualify for it? Because if that's the case, you're theoretically going to be getting FSD for half the price. So $15,000, you take $7,500 off. Hey, FSD is now $7,500 again. So I have no doubt they're already looking at pricing to see how that's going to play at the end of the year. But yeah, thank you for pointing that out. Did not know that they went up. All right, Wimpy. Let me see. Hopefully you reach 2,000 shares by the end of the year. That would be awesome. 2,000 shares. I'm looking for 50 by the end of the year, maybe 100. Depends on what I have coming in for money. But for right now, buying a house is the next big step for me. So the majority of my money just has to get put in cash for right now. Which my dad actually did mention to me that I guess TD, if any of you guys are in the US and you use TD Ameritrade, they've got short-term CDs that are paying out 2.5% to 3% interest on CDs and money that are put in there. So I was hesitant just because I don't know if a house comes up right away. I want to make sure I can get that money out. But I'm going to take a look into that because, heck, my money is sitting in my savings account making me nothing versus making me 2.5% to 3%. I'll take that 2.5% to 3% for sure. Do you ever pay attention to Huey Lewis or only the news? Only the news. Huey Lewis sometimes at work, depending on what channel we've got playing on the radio. Otherwise, it's just the news. Dean, I love your sense of humor. It's very much like mine. Let me see. Is the Tesla Model 4 real? It is real, but it's probably not called the Model 4, and the videos that have been out on YouTube are fake. So it's coming. I have no doubt it's coming. I know from enough information that China is working on designing it. What it is actually going to be or not, I do not know. Also, that's one other thing too I forgot to bring up today. Tesla Thailand. So people are talking about Thailand, thinking that we're going to be getting a gigafactory over there because of some job postings that have been coming up. That is, looking at the job postings that are over there, looks like it's a lot more for a sales and service center than a gigafactory. A Thailand gigafactory at this point doesn't make sense, but sales and service center certainly does. And in the description and talking about some of the things, they're talking about smaller vehicles, things that we've been talking about, like, like Arcimoto has, things like that you see in Thailand, things that you'll see that go around a lot of the Asia Pacific area. So I think Tesla is definitely working on those type of vehicles as well. And I think we will be seeing some of those get mentioned over the next couple of years also. But yeah, so the Model 4 is real, but not real as we have been seeing it over on YouTube recently. Karav, I'm trying to convince my dad to get a Model Y. I'm being financially responsible. So honestly, my son, his other grandfather just bought him and I think it's a 91 Mustang for him to drive because he's going to be getting his license in about a year. So he's got that. I was going to give him my vehicle, but now I can trade mine in instead. But for safety purposes, I would love my kid to be driving a Tesla. It's the safest vehicle that's out there. Even the price to pay to keep my child safe is great. So it's awesome that he's got this car. I think it's going to be a fun car for him to drive. But as I get this up, if they come up with this Model 4 and a less expensive vehicle, I will most definitely be buying him one of those, because that is I think, parental responsible thing to do for your child, is to get them a Tesla. What color for my Model Y? I am plain Jane gray. I went with the dark gray color. That is the color of my car now. Ironically enough, when I wear my bright yellow shirt, I don't like to stand out, but sometimes I do. But when I get the Cybertruck, that'll definitely stand out. But yeah, it's a dark gray. I didn't go with anything fancy or special. Yeah, Sophie the Blue. So my friend Tony, he's the one who actually shared that article with me from Yale before. He has a blue one. It's nice, really nice. Like, I've contemplated changing it to blue, but if I change the color, then it's going to push my delivery further on down the road. So I don't want to do that. Plus, I'm going to end up paying more for it because right now I'm locked in at the $59,000 price. So I'm like, it's like, I would love the blue, but I'm happy with the dark gray. I have no problems with that. It's what I drive now. I'm totally good with that. You can write off your children. You certainly can. And hey, if they're misbehaving, you can write them off in more ways than one. But yeah, legally by tax purposes, you can write off money that you pay your children. Ooh, white with white seats. White on white. That must look hot. Ooh, I don't know if I've seen a white on white. I've seen the black on black, but not a white on white. Let me see. Ryan, why wouldn't Tesla put up massive amounts of solar and battery backup at their Berlin factory? Wouldn't this help to reduce disruptions in case of energy shortage? That is true. We know that they're obviously doing that over in Austin. They're putting up the giant solar panels over there. I believe that they are going to be doing this in all of their factories. They will make them all self-sufficient. It's just going to take time. Why they're not doing it right now, I truly don't know. I don't know if there's regulation things or whatever. But that does make a lot of sense. I don't think that power is going to take the place of natural gas, but that power is going to be significant. We already know that Tesla has produced more power than they have used from all their factories over all the time from their vehicles, and their vehicles being used on the roads. So that is awesome to see. And I think that they're going to definitely getting themselves to self-sufficient factories in the future. May just take a little while. But yeah, I am surprised that they didn't just do it right off the bat. Let's see. Just finishing through the comments. Sophie, let's all leave Tim's videos on autoplay and playlist so Tim can reach higher target 50 shares. Yeah, that'd be awesome if you guys could do that. So my goal for the end of the year was 7,500 subscribers. With the new bump on things, I'm looking to try to get to 10,000 by the end of the year. 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year would be awesome, because at that point, my gift to you guys at 10,000 subscribers is I'm going to be shaving my head completely. I know it's pretty close, but totally going bald at 10,000 subscribers. I'll do that live on here for you guys, and I'll do a big giveaway for it also. So when we hit that point, that's awesome. My sister actually does that herself, because my nephew just loves watching the stuff, so hearing my voice. So she just runs my videos on loop so we can hear Uncle Tim talking. Technical analysis is astrology. I'm not going to disagree. I mean, it works. And there's a lot of things that I can say point to it. So I think the relation is very similar, because I look at astrology and I'm like, hey, a lot of these things do make sense, but why do they make sense? So it's kind of like the charts. I'm looking at the charts as like, these things make sense, but why do they make sense? And you've got to put other pieces of the puzzle in to actually have it make sense. And sometimes I wonder if the things that make sense force them to make sense or not. You know, we can get into conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat stuff on that one for sure. Let me see. Women love astrology. Oh man. I think on that note, let me see. And then yeah, stocks move on earnings. So for you guys who are newer or follow me along, when I come to my price targets and my valuation, I kind of come up with hey, based upon Tesla's projections, based upon Tesla's numbers, what they think and plan for the company going forward, because when it comes to production, they basically hit their numbers every single time. And so for production, that is my baseline. So I look at production. That's why following Karab is very important for me, because he gives me a lot of information that helps me tweak my production numbers. Production then leads me to what my delivery numbers are. Delivery numbers are going to give me what my sales are going to be. And I look at, hey, well, what's the mix of vehicles that was sold? So here's the average selling price. And I take the average selling price times the number of vehicles delivered. That gives me my revenue. And then from there, it breaks it all down to give me my price target. And that is my baseline. And then looking at how the stocks move, you know, with sentiment, with market manipulation, everything, the stock price is just going to move above and below that line. And so you've got to look at it on a long-term scale. You can't look day to day like this, but looking like over the course of, you know, a quarter or a full year, you're like, hey, we're on this trajectory. Where is the stock price based upon, you know, the fundamental line based upon the earnings, like you're saying. And so when the earnings go up, that fundamental line goes up with it. And then, you know, in most cases, it's just going to stay on that upward trajectory. And that says, okay, well, we're still on that upward trajectory. So the stock price will move along with it over time. It's just going to fluctuate above and below it. All right. Well, on that note, been on for almost an hour and a half. Thank you guys all so much for being on here. I love these live streams. I look forward to being able to do more and more of these with you guys in the future. A lot of stuff we talked about today, I'm going to break down into individual videos over the next 2 days for you. And if there's anything new that comes up, I'll share that with you as well. Otherwise, thank you guys for all of your input and all of your support. I will see you all later. Have a great one.